We know this like story arc, don't we? Where we like build up to a kind of climax and then we kind of come to some sort of resolution at the end. And that is outdated. So at YouTube, we talk about this a lot about actually get rid of that old story arc and actually now start high impact. We want to grab people's attention, don't we? And this is what I feel like is, again, one of my unique skills. I'm quite a good story architect. I can grab people's bits of stories and go, oh yeah, like let's put that first to win their attention. That's going to be great. So how do we start with a bang? And so people are like, oh yeah, what's going on here? And that's what we talk about is attention. That's the ABCDs are YouTube's core best practices. And the first one is A for attention. So how do we jump into the attention? How do we get people to feel like they're missing out on something? If I don't watch the rest of this, I'm going to miss out. And then we go into our branding, our connection, and our direction. But let's talk about that winning attention. So first, once we've won the attention, I talked about the next best thing is sustaining it, right? And I think a huge part of sustaining it is this intrigue. So once you've got somebody like, oh yeah, what's going on here? Then you want to sustain that, right? And what we do by doing that is these unexpected shifts. We kind of take them on this narrative, but then give them things that they might not, those like, oh, didn't expect that to happen.
Oh, you were here for this, but actually you want to know about this.
Yeah.
And someone's like, whoa, I didn't know I wanted to know about that as well.
And it's it. And this is why I think series, anybody who's out there that loves a good series, TV series, this is why, because they do that, don't they? They start, grab your attention. They might introduce a few characters, something happens, then they leave you on a cliffhanger and you're like, oh, got to watch the next one. Then you're like 5 hours deep. You should have gone to bed hours ago. And you're like, how am I still watching this? And it's because they're really good at doing that, keeping you intrigued as to what's coming next. And it's open loops. So what they do is they open a loop and then they kind of drip feed you bits of information, but they don't give you everything at once. Like, don't give all your secrets away at once. Drip feed them, keep the audience attentive. And it's because people want to close loops. We want a resolution, don't we? We all want to find out what happens in the end. And that's it. So drip feed them information. And then, of course, when you're ready to close off that loop at the end, then finally do. Then give them direction. So that's what we talk about. The D in ABCDs at YouTube is all about direction.
Oh no, we've missed out B and C. Can we, as in you've got attention, we've got their attention.
Yes.
We know about like keeping the attention, opening the loops and maybe not quite closing them and planning that architecture. B, branding.
So knowing your golden thread, right? Knowing what you stand for. So can you land that as well early doors? And that's your introduction. And ironically, what I've worked out is through all of my coaching, like at the end of somebody working with me in a one-to-one coaching session, what they will fundamentally walk away with is, yes, their narrative. And for a speaker that I might work with potentially, we'll craft the like 90-minute, the 60-minute, the keynote speech, whatever. But ultimately, everybody, whether that is a speaker or somebody who's looking to, go and tell their story on social media or whatever platform that is, it's all about that introduction. Because isn't that the hardest thing? To tell your introduction in a clean, concise way where somebody really gets you, a bit about you, what you're about. And that's branding, right? Can you, in a clean, concise, clear way, express your brand so people just get it? So yeah, show your brand if you know it first, and then talk about it up front. It's a really good way to obviously introduce yourself. But also, can you trickle bits of that brand throughout your narrative as well? So there might be different ways. For me, it's just about speaking authentically and sharing my stories. I'll give stories about myself where people there feel like they know a little bit more about me. They're like, okay, yeah, get her a bit more. Right, okay. And at the end, again, I'll talk about my branding again. So how do you work with me? This is either through one-to-one coaching or workshops. And the best way to approach me is to drop me a message through my website, come and drop me a direct message on social medias as well.
Links in the description.
And also that's your direction, right? So you're giving people, you're talking about your brand, but you're also giving them some direction. So off the back of this narrative that I've just told you, this is actually what I want you to go and do with this.
Very powerful. Attention, grab their attention, open loops, branding, include that golden thread, the connection piece. Is that what you mean by you keep on mentioning more stories which show more parts of yourself?
That
and
is
then the direction is sort of like call to action sort of thing.
That's it. Spot on.